Are you ready, George?
Let's give it a shot.
Let's do it. George, Ringer, the sports wrap. It's almost Christmas. So you got the sleigh bells out, ready to...
Actually, I saw the little elf wrapping gifts as I left.
Yeah?
So, you know, it was... Yeah, we got a feisty crowd already. And what is it, 3:30?
I went earlier today.
School is out.
Wow, school is out.
School is out.
The bad kids made it here early.
The bad kids, you know, and I can't say that. I remember.
Oh.
Anyway, no, that early out was not only just for the kids. I remember my first couple of years teaching, and it's springtime and it's time to go sailing, and we'd try to sail out a step ahead of the kids, but oftentimes got caught.
Yep, that would happen.
That would happen.
Where do you want to start this week?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It's from top to the bottom.
There's lots
really
of stuff
incredible.
to discuss.
I have to admit, I really did watch and enjoy the Gopher basketball game the other night against Mississippi State.
Okay, on Sunday. Yeah.
That was a real nice ball game, and I'll tell you, you know, nobody give these Gophers. I mean, they give them nothing all year long, and when they're coming in, now they're 7-0, and they are still not giving them too much, but they take a notice.
I was getting tweets, you know, the scores of the game on my phone. I was working at a lunch on Sunday, and I got home, and all the tweets that I'd been getting, they were ahead.
Yeah.
They were ahead. Well, I turned the TV on, put the Vikings on one, put the Gopher game on the other one.
Yeah, so did I.
And I didn't like what I was seeing with the Vikings, but I put the Gopher game on, and it was tied at 76, and I'm like, oh, no. They're going to blow this. They've been ahead the whole game. They're going to blow this. And then Peyton Willis nailed that three.
Well, you know, and I'll tell you, I really have to give, you know, kudos. The game that I thought was Eric Curry. He was, you know, I mean, my report is he's listed as 6'9", doubtful. And he's up there playing against a guy that's 6'11", 245 pounds. He looked small next to this guy. He boxed him out. He kept good position the whole time. I don't know how many rebounds he won, 6 or 8, and 12 or 13. I'm just saying is that, you know, I like this style of basketball. I don't know as it'll work in the Big Ten, but they're very mobile. They seem to work together. Willis is just popping them.
Johnson seems to have just kind of sold them on the idea that you guys are invincible. You guys can do whatever you want, and you know, kind of do the little things right. I mean, we've heard all that from our coaching days. Do the little things right, and everything will turn out right. And yeah, they get Michigan State tonight. Michigan State's 7-2. Michigan State's not the Michigan State of old, I don't think.
No.
But having said that, they did beat them by 25 points last year at home.
In the barn.
In the barn. I'm going to say it this way. I'll be shocked if they win, but I'll be shocked if they. I won't. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like nothing's going to surprise me. But if they beat Michigan State, maybe they'll start to get some love.
Well, maybe they will, and like you say, you'd be shocked if they won. You wouldn't be totally surprised the other way if they won, because they're going to come in there, they're going to give it a pretty good shot. Johnson seems to be enjoying himself. He's tossed together a pretty good coaching staff here, and I'm shocked they're 7-0, aren't you?
Yeah, well, and I think, you know, we go back, we've been talking about this so many times on the show. The press had them ranked 14th in the Big Ten out of 14 teams. They still could be right. I mean, this team could fall apart, but the depth is going to be an issue. They just don't have that depth. But you don't need that depth every night. You got to see how things go. And they lost another kid too, so they're down to 6-7. If Parker Fox can come on, I mean, I like this Parker Fox. He's not dribbled the basketball once in a game. He's been hobbled from injuries and all that. He's outselling himself in contracts all over the cities and making himself. He's a business major, graduate business student, and he is taking this to another level.
Well, this is what they can do now, and on top of that, he's counseling other athletes on what they can do, to do well in this league. So it's. I'm telling you, things have changed.
Oh,
period. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
But the portal is still full of people.
Oh, it is.
I can't believe LSU gets a brand new coach, and what happens? Both their quarterbacks have entered the portal, and they got one scholarship quarterback, and it's crazy.
Well, they got a Heisman candidate quarterback at Ohio State, and he's going to enter the portal after freshman year.
I did not hear that.
Yes, Stroud. And he's another one, and the amount of kids that are going to, and I hope after a while it'll become. This portal thing will be kind of commonplace and settle down a little bit. I'm not quite sure where it's going to settle yet. But
another Gopher offensive lineman entered the portal. I'm like, geez, they've got like 5 super seniors on that team. There's going to be spots galore.
There's going to be spots all over.
What's the deal? So
he had not played one down.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like in those colleges. There's 100 kids in that team. And sometimes your number gets lost in the shuffle. That's why
sometimes you better step up and do what you're supposed to do. Maybe you aren't as good as you thought you was.
Oh boy, and that
Come on, let's go. Come on, I'm ready to fight. Come on.
That's a true enough fact. True enough fact.
Are we staying with football? We're staying with college football.
We can stay with college football.
How did the college football playoff dudes and gals do?
I think that. Bowling Green is going to come back to haunt us, and I think Bowling Green and some inconsistencies with Illinois. The fact that they beat Wisconsin, but right now I think Minnesota's viewed as a second-tier Big Ten team.
Yeah, you were convinced that they were going to get a New Year's Day bowl game. I was not. I was not doubting you. If Michigan won, and they still didn't get a New Year's Day bowl game. Hey, Ohio State is going, Iowa, and who else? I didn't write it down, but I thought in my head I had it. But anyway, that tells me that they're the 5th best team in the Big Ten. Well, I guess I'm going to take that and go with it and say, hey, it is what it is. They get West Virginia in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. The only good thing about that is that the game starts at 9:15 on Tuesday, the 28th of December.
Right, yeah.
And I got a basketball game that night in Little Fork, and I think I might get home by the time that it starts. Now, whether I can stay up that late is another animal, but
we'll see what happens. But I mean, I think that they could have been rated a little bit higher. Bowl. I think they were probably a better team. And West Virginia is actually a pretty good candidate. They are a solid second-tier team as well.
Yeah, they're 6-6. They were 4-5 in the Big 12, which tells me that the Gophers should win. That's what I'm saying right here.
Right now, the Gophers should win.
Unless there's something major that happens in the next 3 weeks.
Gophers should win. Isn't that right, Steve?
They should. They should win and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So let's go Gophers.
Let's talk about their new offensive coordinator.
You mean their old offensive coordinator?
Their old new offensive coordinator.
Kirk Shiraka. Wow. When I saw it the other morning, I'm like, why is he getting a new offensive coordinator? What's going on? Well, then when I found out who it was, it made all kinds of sense why he fired Mark Jackson, whatever his name is.
The Gophers ran the ball 70% of the time this year.
Too shabby.
Well, yeah, it did. And they probably should have with that big line. But they threw fewer passes, and I should be real happy for this, than any other team except for Air Force, Navy, and of course Army.
Wow.
And that was a bit surprising. And I think
is a bit surprising.
And if there was any one complaint about what was happening with Tanner Morgan, see, he's not playing as well as he is last year, and but there were times it almost seemed like he was running a complete new offense, especially every week when they had to put in a new back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, you got to threaten the other team with the pass maybe a little bit more.
Yes.
And do some things. Chris Ottman-Bell is a good receiver, but he was injured most of the year.
He was, and there were other receivers in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, these guys are really, really good. They're on the pros, and they can catch balls in incredibly magical situations.
For a quarterback when you got somebody to throw to that can get open.
Exactly. And so, and also, he had a nice tight end that he threw to quite a bit this year. So I think they have a well-rounded team, but I think that they're going to be, I'm not sure. Just the story of Kurt Sirocco is kind of strange, and he's coming from West Virginia.
He's coming from West Virginia. Nice scouting report, Kirk. Tell us exactly what the size, how they breathe, so we know what place.
You know that he knows all the details.
Yeah, Sirocco was offensive coordinator with P.J. Fleck for 7 years at West Virginia and Minnesota. Left to go be offensive coordinator at Penn State. When he made that decision after the great season that the Gophers had in 2019, I don't know, you might remember what I said, probably sitting right here pretty close to this vicinity. Good riddance to you. Get out of here. You don't want to be a Gopher. You don't want to be with us anymore. Go out there, and we hope bad things happen. Well, bad things happen. Penn State wasn't very good during the COVID year. They got rid of him, and then he's been at West Virginia this year. And I think he called up PJ and said, "Can I come home?
Yeah,
I want to come home." And the prodigal son was welcomed with open arms by PJ Fleck. There you go.
There you go.
There's my story, and I'm sticking to it this morning.
That's a bit. And I want one more thing about these bowl games. This is as much about selling tickets and making money as it is about team.
Well, you heard that they added a 44th bowl game so that every team that was bowl eligible could play in a bowl that had won 6 games. They added a 44th bowl game so that there was enough, so they didn't have to snub somebody.
Oh boy,
well, that's probably the right thing to do, I guess. I don't know. How do you pick which 2 teams don't go, and how does that make them feel? Anyway, so they added a bowl game. Let's talk about the big boys, though.
Okay.
Did they get it right? Like Michigan, Georgia's number 1, they lose.
Yeah.
So number 2 wins. Isn't it logical that number 2 should move to number 1?
Well, that would be that, and I mean, if you live in Cincinnati, you got to say, I agree.
Well, yeah, I understand Alabama beat the number 1 team, but Alabama has not looked good over the last month.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, unless I miss my call, Michigan's going to be in the finals of this thing, and they're going to go through Alabama. Right now, I think Michigan's are really playing well. Their defense is finally gelling.
I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put on my Mel Gibson coat.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back in here because I'm going to give you, I gave you my conspiracy theory already.
Yeah.
I believe that Georgia laid down on Saturday so that the SEC could get 2 teams into the Final Four. Now, a lot of people are telling me I'm nuts, but when you're talking $14 million for the conference,
no,
people think that I'm nuts. People don't think that we do things for the money. Georgia doesn't want to win people have said to me, you don't think Georgia wanted to win the SEC championship? I'm like, of course they did. But if that means they could put more money in the coffers by losing a game and then going and beating Alabama and getting all this accolades for how well they came back and whatever else, because I still believe Georgia is going to win the national championship. Having said that, I think they laid down on purpose.
Well, and I'll tell you, they better not be looking past Cincinnati, because Cincinnati's...
Who better not be looking past Cincinnati?
Georgia.
Georgia doesn't have to get Cincinnati. Georgia's got Michigan.
Oh, okay. I mean, Alabama besides Cincinnati.
Alabama better not be looking past Cincinnati. Because they're going to come in with their Boise State chip on their shoulder, and us little guys, and Saban played the underdog card. He talked about the poison that the press had played and blah, blah, blah. Well, he's going to get that poison right back at him, because what's everybody going to be saying about Cincinnati? Well, they can't play with the big boys. They're not qualified conference.
They're an awfully good team, and they have good team speed. They have some real good defensive line. And
you know how much I would love if Cincinnati beat Alabama? Oh my gosh, I'd laugh all the way to the bank.
Yeah, so it's Cincinnati. No, I think that's if they can do that, I think that kind of rearranges the whole format, because all of a sudden you have a team that's not out of the Big Five type group.
I mentioned Boise State, but think back when Boise State beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl with the wraparound.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Trick play for the 2-point conversion, 43-42 the final. That gave the small schools some leverage.
First time ever.
Cincinnati's in there for the first time. Now, if they get blown out 55-7.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen either. But if it happens, and Alabama can do that to teams, because they probably are the best, possibly the second best team around. That's where I'm going with. It could happen. And Cincinnati, once the ball sometimes gets rolling against Alabama, you can't do anything to stop it. Now they lost one of their receivers. He will not be playing in the semifinals. That hurts Alabama, but you know what they do? They don't rebuild, they reload, right? So
well, that's what they used to do. I'm not sure that they do it as well anymore because everybody else is doing some serious recruiting as well. And with
offering
this portal,
some serious money,
and with this portal, I mean, you can go through starting quarterbacks very quickly, and so. But that being said, Saban is a fantastic coach, and he's got a great program, and.
We'll talk about him compared to Bill Belichick. How about a little bit later?
I think Bill Belichick is going to go to football heaven. I watched him the other day just pick this team apart and threw a half a dozen passes with this rookie quarterback. Yeah. And ran the ball and I had never seen.
Sometimes you got to do that in a Gale or in a Mud Bowl in 2004.
Yeah, no.
So. Let's go back to the Final Four before we leave this. Okay? So Alabama, Cincinnati. Who are you picking to win?
I'm going to go with Cincinnati because they're the underdogs.
He's going to pick them to win. As Mike Bolstead would say, I'm going to go chalk. I'm going Alabama because they did show something to me. And I think they were disinterested against Auburn. They were disinterested against LSU. They knew they could turn it on. How about Michigan and Georgia? I think I already know your selection.
I'm going to go with Michigan on that one. Georgia can be beat. We know that. I think that they can be beat by a team that's not as good as they are, like Alabama. And and so Georgia shows some weakness. Now, where that is specifically, hard to say. But Michigan really played well against Iowa. They hammered Iowa.
They hammered them, no doubt about it. Georgia was ahead 10-0 in that football game against Alabama. Yeah. And then, did they get complacent?
Well,
did they get big-headed? Did they go, oh, we got them on the ropes, and then they couldn't flip the switch back?
Well, no.
Or did they lay down on purpose?
And Bama got a big play in there, and now it's 10-7, and it's just like he creeps on you, I mean, they just creeped, and they got incredible running backs, not to mention pretty good wide receivers, lots of speed.
Probably some pretty good offensive linemen as well. Yeah. You know how that works.
Yes,
okay, let's go to the other side of the bracket. Are you taking Michigan and Georgia?
I told you I'm taking Michigan.
He's got Michigan. I'm taking Georgia. So hey, we something's got to give.
No, yeah, I got Michigan, Cincinnati.
I've got the rematch, and Georgia beats Alabama. No doubt in my mind. Georgia's your national championship.
Yeah,
I whatever. So you're going Michigan, Cincinnati. Who wins it?
Michigan looks awfully good right now.
Michigan looks awfully good. How did Aiden Hutchinson get to be a Heisman finalist?
I don't know if that really happened, but
he's a defensive end.
He's a defensive end, but you saw him coming a couple of years ago, and when he was even recruited, he was going to be a premier star, and he comes on, and by the end of this year, I mean, against Iowa, they could not go his side, and they started moving him around. And
he's a good football player.
He's a good football player.
There's no doubt about it. Whether he should be there for the Heisman, I don't know, but you want to make a prediction who wins the Heisman?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Here's my prediction. Nobody cares anymore because nobody sticks around long enough. Nobody stays with the same team long enough to care anymore.
No, they can get a Heisman and be in a play for a different team next year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the kid from Alabama, the quarterback
from Alabama.
That's my pick. Can't think of his name right now because it's.
I'll tell you, when he came back and beat Georgia, there was a guy with an awful lot of potential, and I wouldn't want to take if Ohio State had beaten Michigan, Stroud would have been.
Stroud would be your Heisman.
He would be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Are we done with college football?
We can just leave it for a while.
All right. Let's talk Vikings.
Okay.
Are they done?
They will be done depending on the game tomorrow night.
Can't lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers, can they?
Well, I'm not sure, but you can't lose the Detroit Lions either. You got to remember.
You got to remember, somebody's lost 15 in a row or not won 15 in a row. The law averages are on their side. They're going to get a break. They're finally going to do it.
Well, and it's not just the 15, 16 in a row, but we've been doing it for decades to the Lions. And sooner or later, they're going to win one coming back. It's just It's in the numbers. And so you take a look at this, and so, but the thing of it is that people are a little bit hurt and embarrassed. And then what are they hurt and embarrassed about? Well, because the Vikings didn't actually play that bad, considering the Detroit Lions have a make-up offensive line. They have, what could you say, a gun-shy quarterback. They have a lot of injuries. They've had, problems with the coaching staff. I mean, they've got all these things going. So what do? They're 0-10. So what do? They go into a prevent defense on the last series. A prevent defense, rushing 3, giving Goff something that he hasn't had all day,
which was time.
And then they throw some kind of silly button hook or something in the end zone.
Yeah, Dantzler was playing way too. I don't know what he was thinking.
I don't know what he was thinking.
I understand. I'm not so mad about the prevent defense up to about the 30-yard line, but it looked like once the ball got inside the 30-yard line, they continued to play that way, and they were giving way too much cushion. And I said, you get down by the goal line. Heck, when we were coaching, we would tell our kids, it's the goal line. You got to play it differently. You got to play it differently. Yeah. You can't give that kind of cushion.
Your back's to the wall.
So, Dantzler's a young pro. He'll learn a lesson. I'm here to defend. I know people are going to think this guy's nuts. The Vikings still make the playoffs. The Vikings are still going to make the playoffs.
I think they still have a possibility of doing that. That being said, I think there's a possibility if they lose tomorrow night's game, Mike Zimmer might be gone.
See, he could be. I'm not a believer in firing your coach.
I'm not either.
This late in the season, what are you gaining? I don't understand other than embarrassing the guy, and if that's what you're trying to do.
No,
I don't think the Wolves work that way.
I've always liked Mike Zimmer, and he seems to be an honest man. I like his style of football. I don't, when everything goes wrong, you get rid of the coach and get rid of the quarterback. And that's not always the case.
So I'm going to just throw this out there because I have to. The offense coordinator is brand new for the sixth consecutive year for the Vikings. Okay, we I think can all admit that he has not been as aggressive as he should have been, right? Okay, so do you take a rookie offensive coordinator and throw him under the bus and fire him? No. So you take a veteran head coach who was not as aggressive as he should have been. Right? After he's been after the offensive coordinator to be that, and do you throw him under the bus with 5 games left? I'll say it. The Vikings still have a chance to make the playoffs. You don't fire your coach when you still have a chance to make the playoffs. At least not in my book.
Well, no,
I know people.
And keep in mind,
the know-it-alls out there think, well, you just fire a coach randomly. It's a great thing to do.
No,
it's going to rally the troops.
Hard to get a good one.
Do people think about this, that Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks both didn't play, and Barr, which one was it, Barr or Kendricks? Like in my mind right now, I can't remember. That was a game-time decision. Like 2 hours before the game, they decided, no, he can't go. Well, okay. All of a sudden, you got a guy in there that's taking reps. How many reps did he take in practice during the week?
And what did it resemble? It resembled the defense at the end of last year when Kendricks and Barr were not playing. And when they're playing, I don't think that play would have happened. Because number one, they are great pass protectors, and when they get up in the air, I mean, they're hard to throw over. They're just fantastic athletes.
Yeah,
they will play much better.
It's not a good loss. Nobody's talking about the fact that what they did in the first half. In the second half, they came back and scored 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, everybody's been complaining. We got to get him the ball more. He had 182 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Well, there are good things on this team. Yes, every week in the NFL, we know that a team can win or lose.
They're all good. They're all good.
They're all good teams. So anyway, Bill Belichick. If you would have told me 3 months ago that New England would be seeded on December 8th, that they would be the number 1 seed in the AFC at this time,
arguably the best team in football.
I'd have smacked you, Joe.
Arguably one of the best teams in football.
We thought it was over last year when he lost Tom, the GOAT, blah, blah, blah. And now he's pulled it all together.
The
cheating son of a gun has done it again.
You are taking a look at an incredible football coach. This man was put on this earth to coach football. That's all he was there to do. And when he's on that sidelines with that ripped up sweatshirt of his and looking out over the field, he's having a really good time.
I watched 0 downs of the game, but obviously in my job I have to go search some of these things.
Yeah.
And they showed a clip of him at the end of the game, and he almost smiled. He smirked.
Yeah,
he smirked. Yeah. He almost smiled on the sideline because I think even he can't believe it.
You know what it's like for him to go into one of those news conferences after a game like this? And I mean, and how many times has he walked out of news conferences because he doesn't want to listen to the journalists? And now he'll stand up there. You have any questions that aren't real stupid? And then and he'll go from there. No, he's got all my football respect. He's done an amazing job there.
Anything else from the NFL last week that sticks out in your brain?
No, I guess not. Like you say, I watched the Gophers on one channel and on one TV, and the Vikings on the other, and I was concentrating kind of on the basketball game after a while.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to basketball, hockey. Where are we going?
Let's start with volleyball.
He wants to go volleyball.
Volleyball.
Not a horrible choice.
That's not a horrible choice. No, I was in talking to a lady today, and she says, "Well, I was a college volleyball player, and we were talking about Gopher sports, and I was talking about how much women's sports have improved since Title IX, and it's I think it's come about for just sports evolution." Time in the weight room and growing a whole bunch of women that have 40-inch vertical jumps. These athletes are just amazing.
Well, I mean, Steph Samity, she was named Big Ten Player of the Year for the second time.
Yeah.
And then she got named North Region Player of the Year again, which puts her up for National Player of the Year. Seared into my brain the last weekend when they played, I believe when they were playing Penn State or Maryland, I can't remember which one. She had a kill that it felt like it went straight down from the back row. It was totally, I don't know how high above the net she was, but it was absolutely incredible. You talked about the 40-inch vertical. It felt like that's how high she was, because when she hit down on the ball, it was over. There was no chance.
On top of that, I saw her put a hit, I think this was against Indiana, hit the girl in the head and put her right down where she had to be helped up. How much does it hurt? And almost knocked this girl out.
Well, and to think the ball's coming at you and you cannot, we think about baseball or whatever, you got a fastball coming at your head. Yeah. You're able to get your brain out of the way or turn. Think about that volleyball, and you can't move fast enough to get your hands up to protect yourself. That means it's coming at a pretty good clip.
Well, they are, and they, the McGraw girl is out, but they're still playing along, so they're going to play Baylor next, and then Wisconsin.
Cheeseheads.
It's just, I know you have a problem with cheeseheads.
Last week they had Stanford. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that they beat Stanford in 3 sets. Stanford is a power, has been for years and years, and they took care of business on their home floor very nicely. Yes, the Gophers have to go to tomorrow, Thursday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I suspect George, who maybe you were doing your homework, that's why we had to do the show earlier, so you could get home and or you got something else going on.
Well, yeah, I got to do a little traveling tomorrow, so that's...
Well, that match starts at 2 o'clock.
Well,
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to pull it.
Well, I'll tell you. Is it going to be on TV?
It's on ESPNU, I believe.
Okay. Well, maybe we can.
So, having said that, you said they played Baylor. They played Baylor the first match of the year.
Yeah, and they lost to them, but
lost in 4 sets.
Yeah.
Different team.
Landfair
was a part of the rotation back then. Jenna Wennis has stepped up into that role, taken that spot over. Diaby has been lights out for this Gopher volleyball team.
She comes from Japan.
I'm going to say they are going to beat Baylor, but they're going to lose to Wisconsin.
Well, and that's kind of the pick that you probably have to go through, but Wisconsin had an awfully good.
They got a very nice team, and of course the Gophers in Wisconsin played, about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And of course the Gophers had them on the ropes and let them off, and the Cheeseheads beat the Gophers in 5 sets. So that's my prediction that it's going to go to there.
I think it would be in Madison too.
Yeah, it's in Madison.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So to me, here's what I see. The Big Ten is kind of playing for its pride. So I believe that we're definitely going to get one team into the Final Four with either Wisconsin or Minnesota. One of those are going to be. But Big Ten's playing with an edge because Louisville's #1. Pittsburgh is like 3, and all these other schools are ahead of Wisconsin, and I don't think the Big Ten like that at all.
Well, I'll tell you, and I mean, somebody told me this, and I have a tendency to agree with it. Minnesota volleyball right now is kind of the pride of campus. They've got this really solid championship program. They've had it for years. They got a coach down there that thinks he can beat anybody. He never loses. Both feet on the ground all the time.
Yeah.
And so they've got a good solid program there. And in our house somebody will be watching Gopher volleyball.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting day. I'd love to see them make the Final Four and make a run. They just haven't been consistent enough. That's why they're seeded 12th. They just have not been consistent enough throughout the year to be ranked much higher than that. It's been an up and down, but they've played a lot of tough matches, and hopefully things will go in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay, now you want to talk hockey and basketball.
I just want to make mention before we go anywhere with basketball. No, wrestling. Although wrestling came up today too. I wanted some comments here about Paige Bookers. Did you see what happened to her?
I did.
Yeah.
She's lucky. I think that it's only possibly 6 to 8 weeks that she's out.
Is that what they figured?
Yeah, she's got a patellar fracture, I think is what tibial patellar fracture. And so they're saying 6 to 8 weeks that she'll be out.
I saw that. That leg just crumbled.
Yeah,
literally.
She's lucky that it wasn't ACL, MCL, something along that line, because that could have been a year. Having said that, obviously she's, a very good athlete, and that could be the reason why she didn't get that type of injury. So, Connecticut will be just fine. They'll just plug in another person. I mean, it's tough to replace the National Player of the Year.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure they got somebody who's fairly good that they can plug into that spot.
Well, I wonder, with a minute and a couple and change left, and they were up by 12 or 14, why she was even in the game. But that's another question. I think right now at that level, UConn is #2 behind South Carolina, and South Carolina put a good hit on them.
Yeah.
And so, Gino doesn't want to lose his top spot. He likes that top spot. It's great recruiting. It's it's so. That's what he's in trouble for.
They'll be there at the end. They always are, right?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah.
All right. You want to talk Timberwolves?
As long as you brought up basketball. Timberwolves. Let's talk just a little bit Timberwolves.
I watched 3 losses in a row.
They did, but the last one, I watched the Atlanta game.
Okay.
And for
I wonder what he's going to say.
For three and a half quarters, they were ahead and were playing them tight. Now, Atlanta, as I recall from last year, pretty good basketball team.
Atlanta's mode of operation has been lots of threes.
Lots of threes.
They made 25 against the Wolves the other night. Ouch.
And also, you see a powerhouse like this, a really good team, they it takes 3.5 quarters for them to absorb you. And it's just like, and after a while, you could see them coming. It was kind of like lava. There just was nothing you can do about it. And they start coming and bombing threes from all over the place. And Atlanta deserved to win, and the Timberwolves deserved to lose. But you could see the distinction of where they have yet to go.
Yeah, the Utah Jazz tonight. It's Wednesday, and Utah's 16-7, third in the Western Conference behind red-hot Golden State and Phoenix. You wonder how.
This is a good game for them.
This will be a good test at home. Like I said, they've lost 3 in a row. You don't want to lose 4 in a row because Kat said about a month ago, I've been here when three has turned into 18 in a row.
Yeah.
And I don't think this team is in that spot, but they didn't have D'Lo the other night.
No.
And that does not help. He brings a certain mix. They are a little beat up. That's going to happen during the season. I'm not trying to make excuses. But despite Kat taking a big fall in Washington on Friday on a dunk attempt where he fell on his backside, he's been scoring points. But again, you need Kat full strength to be good.
Oh yeah, and he fell a long ways right on his back too. It was a crunch.
Yeah. Anything else NBA wise?
Let's
I just
see
can't
here.
believe the Suns and the Warriors. It's scary. Like I said, they're 20-4. You know, you start doing the math on that.
You know,
that means they'd be 60-12.
No,
and then you go, okay, they got 10 games left, and they're going to win 8 of those, so they're going to go 68-14. Well, you know the NBA record's 73. I mean, they're putting themselves in a territory, and Golden State's going to get Klay Thompson back. I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to be loaded.
Well, Golden State was always going to be loaded.
You're ready to talk wild. I can feel it.
You know, 7 straight. 7 straight.
That's only the third best streak in franchise history.
Well, you were talking last week. They're going to go to Edmonton and they're going to get this great big chunk. They went up to Edmonton, and beat them up 4-1, and I mean physically
They showed that they can play with the. Right now, they're not afraid of anyone in the NHL, and I don't know if that was always the case. You know, Colorado always had their number, or St. Louis always had their number, and you'll notice we haven't played Colorado a lot early on in the season, but Vegas has always seemed to have been a tough draw for us. Right now, nobody wants to play the Wild, I don't think.
Yeah, they don't, and I'll tell you, you know, just as projection, when I take a look at the charts, listen to a few commentators, the Minnesota Wild right now is within the top 5 teams in hockey, and maybe even 4. And, you know, they can pretty much skate with anybody. And, you know, other people kind of, well, like they used to do with the Timberwolves too. I don't know what. I mean, what do they got? They got 13 wins this year, Timberwolves. There were times they go a whole season and have a hard time getting 13 wins. And the Wild, for many years, they would go on those 8 and 9 games busts, and you don't see that anymore.
Happen. Let's not.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it happens. Here's what I believe, and this is kind of come more to light, and it reared its head last night. The commentators on FSN on Bally Sports were talking about how Dean Evison has let the defensemen be more offensive.
Yes.
It's right into your man Dumba's game.
Yeah, and Dumba, and he got one too last week, and then.
But Kulikov on a breakaway, a defenseman on a breakaway in a game. What the flippin' flaw is going on?
Yeah.
When they said it, when LaPanta said, "Oh, it's Kulikov breaking in," I'm like, "What is he doing there?"
Yeah.
Because he took the pass from Kirill and somebody else, and I'm like, "What? Hey." And then he buried it, which was even crazier. A defenseman that went in there. Anyway, he showed that the old guy still's got some juice in the legs and in the wrists and the hands, and it took care of business.
I have never met a defenseman yet that wasn't looking for a shot at that hole. And it's just like every once in a while, they don't get it too often. But keep in mind, when Bobby Orr played, 75% of the goals that were scored on Boston or when he was on the ice, because he was always around the net.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you look at this team and you just kind of go, what aren't they doing well? But maybe the biggest thing, Cam Talbot right now, playing out of his mind.
38 saves, and and he come out and they interviewed him at the end of the game. He had this smile on his face. He's playing well, and he seemed to. Goalies have to feel their streak, and right now he's on a roll, and
that puck looks awfully big. And he talked this morning on the cut I played on the radio. He talked about being patient, not trying to be too aggressive. I thought that says a lot about why he's playing so well, because he's thinking about that. So they go to San Jose, and then is it LA? Yeah, LA and then Vegas. I think in the last 3 games on this road trip before they head home, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, they are fun to watch, and I haven't been an NHL fan for a long time. These guys are fun to watch.
Yeah, you don't kind of dare look away from the TV.
No, Fiala and Hartman and you know.
Yeah, and you talk about Fiala.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time he scored, but he's out there putting pressure on and
the
making
time.
things happen.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they're supposed to possibly get Jared Spurgeon back tomorrow night. Well, you got your captain coming back. But where do you put him? Who do you take out of the lineup right now? Who's playing badly enough? There's going to be some healthy scratches, and there's going to be some guys that are going to be like, well, I guess I got to go to practice tomorrow and show that I deserve to be in the lineup.
Well, you that happens sometimes. You have to take what's going to be a future Hall of Famer and send him down because the other one was there first.
Yeah, I just think that this is going to be it's a good problem to have, but you know that guys are going to get nicked, so you need guys sitting on the edge that are ready to come in and play hockey. Florida was sky high. Carolina was sky high early in the season. They kind of mellowed a little bit.
Well, you couldn't keep undefeated forever.
Yeah,
it was.
But the Toronto game on Saturday with the Wild was a dandy 3-3.
Yeah.
The Gophers. The Wild were at 3-0 and came back and the Maple Leafs tied it at 3. And I'm like, and then they hung on and won in the shootout. Your good friend Kirill got, well, it looked like a pedestrian goal to me, but he made it look so simple.
I think it seems to me he has the same mentality if he's playing this game here or a pee-wee hockey tournament somewhere. He is just out there. He's with that smile on his face. He knows what he has to do, and he loves doing it. So I tell you, he's an amazing hockey player. He might be the most amazing hockey player in the league. And everybody else in the team gets better because of him.
Yeah, I think early in the year we were worried about him.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't producing.
Yeah, don't worry.
He had to learn.
Yeah,
that things, you got to play a little bit differently when you're the focus.
Yeah.
And he's found his way through. And of course, Hartman's been playing
out of his mind.
Yeah. And so it's when you got a teammate that's playing out of his mind on your line, it makes it a whole lot simpler.
Sure does.
I have to eat a little crow here because my Bulldogs, without their man Ryan Fanti in the pipes, went out to Northern Michigan last week and got swept. That hurts.
Yeah,
this week they get Denver at home. I'm hoping that they'll rebound. I hope Fanti will come out of the COVID protocols, and we'll see him back in between the pipes. And that obviously we can see that makes a big difference. Not saying Northern Michigan's a bad team, but yeah, just my observation on my Bulldogs.
Yes.
So. What else you got?
Well, let's take a look here.
I know you've got one more thing that we need to discuss.
Well, we do. We can either talk about. Well, first off, we got to talk just a little bit about Tony Oliva and Jim Cott.
Yeah, Jim
in 1964, 1965, the Twins were kind of a miracle team. They had come up there. They were in the '65 World Series. Tony Oliva had a stance that looked a lot like what Rod Carew would do, and Jim Cott and Killebrew and the rest of they really put together this fine team. Cott, this big left-hander, started 2 of those games. He's had all kinds of junk on his baseball. He played, for 25 years and 15 with the Twins. But these guys, after 56 years, they're going to finally get in, and it couldn't happen to 2 better guys.
Cott said the other day, I had put the Hall of Fame in my rearview mirror. I didn't think it was going to happen. He made a statement this summer that I thought had cemented that possibility. Got himself into a little bit of trouble, but the man is deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. Tony O said it the other day. People thought I should have been in the Hall of Fame for 40 years.
Well, Tony O is incredible. But one thing about Jim Cott, he was the best pitching record in Twins history. He had 16 Golden Gloves. He was the best defensive pitcher probably ever. And and you see all these.
Bert Blyleven's the thing that their pitchers are pretty good athletes. But anyway.
Yeah. But you know, Tony O, in his first 2 years, he was a Rookie of the Year, and then he was batting champion for 2 years. He had 1,917 hits, 597 of which were extra bases.
Wow.
And you know, he played a lot of baseball with not very good knees, and so you know, it's kind of amazing where else he would just come about that. And then I already talked about my good friend Tony, but Cott and Tony O.
Yeah,
I mean,
Minoso going in.
Minoso, that's another Cuban.
I guess I feel like these guys knew, the voters, I mean, that these guys had to go in. Cotton and Oliva are 83 years of age.
Old.
83. Yeah. And they knew that they needed to get them in before they passed. And baseball did the right thing.
They did.
Now if they want to make me happy, they got to put Pete Rose in. Because that was the conversation that came up. I mean, okay, Jamadi, whatever, Jim,
Yeah.
whatever, yeah. Bart, you know, put the old slap down on him. It's time to forgive. It's time to forget. It's time for baseball to do the right thing and put Pete in the Hall of Fame before he dies. And there's just things that need to be done the right way. And that's just
well, no, you know, I had actually a fairly prominent name asked me why I thought Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. He did not. And I said, because he did things on the baseball diamond I saw nobody else do. And he did it for a long time.
Did it at a different level.
He did it. Everything was...
With a different intensity, a different tenacity. He, in my mind, he played baseball like you play football.
Yes, whatever it would take, yeah.
He was called Charlie Hustle for a reason. You know, the 44-game hitting streak, that was one of the first things I can remember about baseball when I was growing up. You knew about Pete Rose, but obviously he did things. You can't take away the fact that he had 4,292 or whatever the number is hits. Yeah, did he bet on baseball? Yep.
He's the modern day shoeless Joe Jackson. And I mean, and I just came up with that. So there you are.
Yeah, I said it's, you know, the hand has been slapped.
Yes.
He's been in baseball purgatory for 30 years. Like I said, did he screw up? But everybody gets their penance. Everybody serves their sentence, and then it's time to move on.
He still has a cathedral in Cincinnati, I'll tell you. He walks down there, people drool.
What else you got?
On Saturday at 2 o'clock, this is the college football game.
I can't believe it took us this long to talk about this.
Oh, I was just going to try to get to the end.
Because we talked college football, but
Army has got this really good team. And Navy, while they don't want to take any guff from Army, and so they don't have as good a record, but right now Army has a chance to take outright control of the Commander-in-Chief Cup. That means they got to beat the other service academies. They beat Air Force, and if they beat Navy, then they're good. Now, if Navy beats Army, then it's a three-way tie.
And then they bring them out on the field and flip a coin or something?
No, they put a tank up against a battleship, and they see where they go from there. I'm not quite sure, but this is my favorite game. This is because, you know, it's the year end. This is the last game. There is no other games on Saturday, I don't believe. And, you know, and so this is the last game. You know, I love this game because these athletes are four-year people. There's no red shirt or there's anything like that. There's really no professional contract at the end of it. There is 4 years of service to the Army or to the Navy. And I just want to just highlight a guy by the name of Jacoby Buchanan, because he's going to play on Saturday.
Okay.
Now, he's about our height and combined weight. This guy is a mountain. Now, I know when he goes into the Army, I doubt very much he'll be in armored vehicles. He is an armored vehicle. He's just an amazing guy. They have a very good football team, and I think Army's going to win. But Navy has some very good athletes, and all records and everything. These two teams scream, beat Army or beat Navy after every game. So this is the pinnacle of where they're going, and we're going to have a little gathering right here. I'm going to go on Thursday afternoon. This isn't why I'm doing it, but I will be getting some Valentini's spaghetti stuff, so we'll be having a little party here and celebrate.
I see what you're up to.
Yeah. It goes a little further than that.
He's really trying to make me feel guilty that I'm not going to be there on Saturday.
Oh yeah, hey, if guilt is an issue, then you can't be my partner no more.
There you go.
Anyway, that's all I have.
Just a couple high school notes if I can.
Please.
Bronco girls basketball team is 3-0.
Yeah.
Pretty good start. They've shown that they're a second half team. Beat Chisholm last night.
At Chisholm.
At Chisholm. Won at Greenway. After they only scored 13 points in the first half, they scored 41 in the second half. Maybe Coach Boyle has got it figured out. He's got the adjustments at halftime, but they're 3-0, and I get to go to Ely on Friday to watch them. Ely beat Greenway 39-38 last night.
Yes.
So that means no pressure on the ladies, but 4-0 should happen. Well, on the road, right? So
no, I tell you, from everything I heard and watching them on LiveTube, it's a pretty good team. They have a good size.
Good size, taking care of business. Pretty fun girls hockey game on Saturday. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, you still can go back to yourliveevent.com and watch it. But the Bronco girls had got beat 11-0 and 14-0 to start the season. They played Detroit Lakes on Saturday. I didn't really know what to expect. I was hopeful, and I think along with Coach Aaron Hull, we were hopeful that they would score a couple of goals. Well, not only did they score a couple of goals, they scored first, and they scored 4 times. And they ended up losing 5-4, unfortunately. I'm going to say it this way. It's the most fun I've had. I had a hockey game. Fun. I had a hockey game I've had in a long time.
Well, that's the most goals they've scored in a long time.
Yeah, well, you know, and it wasn't so much the goals, but it was the passion that they played with, the enthusiasm that they played with. It showed when they scored the goals. When other teams score the goal, everybody throws their hands up in the air and everybody comes through and skates through. Not like these girls did. No, it was different. It was fun. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I'm be honest, there's not going to probably be a whole lot of wins this year for this girls hockey team, but that was fun on Saturday. And I get to go out to Detroit Lakes when they play them in Detroit Lakes in January and do the game on the radio, and I'm looking forward to it already. It's going to be fun. Detroit Lakes played last night. They played Morris Benson area, and they won 12-7. Now, Morris Benson area, that's the tournament that the Broncos are going to over the Christmas break. So, you never know. Maybe one of those wins could come while they're down in the Benson area.
Playing to win becomes contagious. When everybody's playing well, that becomes contagious as well. And it's just like, hey, we're pulling for those girls.
Yeah, like I said, it was a lot of fun. And I'll pull one goal specifically out of the game, and that was Brenna Crosby's goal. There was a pass from the right-hand corner across the goal mouth, and it looked like one of the Bronco players had a chance at it. It went right through her. She was tied up by a Detroit Lakes player right onto the stick of Crosby, and at a pretty sharp angle. She took it like a one-timer, and she buried that thing in the back of the net, and I'm like, okay. That's
how you do it.
2 weeks ago, I don't think I would have saw that kind of play. So this team is growing. Anyway, I enjoyed the heck out of it. Bronco boys basketball team lost last night. Their opener to Chisholm. The boys hockey team is 0-2 as they will be hosting Williston this coming weekend. The boys swimming and diving team gets started next week. I got to talk a little bit about Little Fork Big Falls sports for a second if I can, because
that's part of the deal.
That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
The boys lost last night 46-45 to Lake of the Woods. Lake of the Woods hits a shot with 2 seconds left after the Vikings had been down by 11. But did you hear how many free throws they missed?
No.
They made 11 of 32 and lost by a point. Ooh, guess what they're working on at practice today?
Free throws. My wife, I can hear my wife. Hit your damn free throws. That drives her crazy. They're called free for a reason.
They're called free for a reason.
Yeah.
And then I have to talk about the Viking girls. They got their first win of the season for new head coach Gary Chelgren last night as they beat Nashua Keewatin Destiny Pekarski, who we knew. She's being recruited by Division II schools. We knew that she was going to have a big year. Last Friday night, she scored 41 at Deer River. I thought that was pretty good. Last night, she decided to put up 52.
Ooh.
52. She had 30 at halftime. So we believe, between me and whoever else is out there, we believe 52 is the school record for LBF. Kaylee Kennedy, we believe, had 50 or 51 a couple years back, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Kaylee, somebody out there probably knows the number. But yeah, Destiny kind of took it upon herself last night. She was on the press, got a lot of easy buckets that way. But they ended up winning by nearly 20 points. And so
well, you're broadcasting their games this weekend, aren't they?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
On Thursday. Doing the doubleheader. So if you get back early enough, you can put your live event on your computer and watch a doubleheader of Vikings basketball. You can put the Vikings on the big screen, and it's a Vikings galore on Thursday night. So anyway, I had to get that stuff out.
So tell me about, you were talking about one score between Two Harbors and Esco last night.
What the heck? I looked at two sites.
Yeah.
The two high school score sites that you would look at. Two Harbors beat Esco 92-42. Both of them had the same score. Now, it's got to be wrong, because there's no way that Two Harbors beat Esco by 50 points. Saying Esco beat Two Harbors by 50 points, completely believable. The other way, not a chance. I did not go back and look again today to see if that was a fallacy, a false score, but it had to be. There's just no way. Esco's got a pretty nice team, and if they got beat by 50, that means that the varsity kids all came down with COVID, which is possible.
That could be.
I mean, it's possible that maybe their JV team had to play Two Harbors, but like I said, when I saw the score this morning, I typed it, and I'm like, no. So I stopped everything. I went and found another website, and I looked on there, and it said the same score, and I'm like, I guess
you were just being hopeful.
Hey, if it happened, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Two Harbors Agates. I hate to doubt you, but oofta, I don't know about that. So anyway, anything else?
I
You
can't.
getting any reading done?
I am actually. I was at the clinic today, and so I always had some time in there. But I find that my reading really goes in spurts, and if I get into something, it's difficult for me to put down. Like. When are you going to turn the light off, George? And that type of deal. So, but the reading is coming by the first of the year. The winter will be there, and I'll be into some of the thick books.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm going to try a biography of Napoleon this winter too.
Wow.
Yeah, and for being so short, they have big, thick books.
I think it's going to wrap it up for this week. Hey, don't forget Christmas is coming down the pipe. Do something special for somebody that you don't know. That's the number one thing that you need to do. Get out there and make a contribution to the food shelf here in town, or toys for the kids. The radio station, they're gonna have to get me a desk someplace else, because I'm running out of room where the toys are at in my office. I'm having a tough time finding a place to walk anymore, which is a great problem to have. But get out there, do something for somebody else out there that you don't know. I think that's to me, at 52 years of age, that's the key to Christmas.
Yeah, and you can only look at life in two ways for this weekend. Either go Navy beat Army, or go Army beat Navy, one or the other, but enjoy the game.
I want to say go Army, so I stay friends for a while.
Attaboy.
Thanks, everybody.